Welcome to the Culinary Treasure Podcast. I'm Stephen Shomler, your host. Today finds us back on the Oregon coast. I absolutely love the Oregon coast. We are in Rockaway Beach at Sand Dollar Restaurant and Lounge. I've been coming to the Sand Dollar for a long time. Super excited to get to record a podcast here and tell the story of the Sand Dollar. I'm telling you, sit down, put on your seatbelt, buckle yourself in. It's a fantastic story. My two guests today are Emma Heathershaw and Maia Bradescu.
Yes.
I got it right?
You did.
That is a miracle. It's delighted to have both of you here on the podcast.
It's very nice to be with you.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Okay. And I just want to mention, I'm so grateful. This episode is sponsored by Visit Rockaway Beach. There's a lot of cool things to do in Rockaway. If you go to visitrockawaybeach.org, there's cool shops, there's great places to stay. And of course, I'm partial to the wonderful places to eat here in Rockaway Beach. But thank you so much to them for sponsoring this episode. So Emma, questions I ask all my guests on all my podcasts. Where were you born?
I was born in Romania.
Where in Romania?
Western part of Romania, about 60 kilometers away from a town, Timișoara.
Timișoara?
Yes.
Okay. And where'd you go to high school?
I went to Serbian high school in Timișoara. That's how it was called, Serbian
high school. So you were in Romania, but you were Serbian, and the Serbians went to a different high school than the Romanians.
They had the choice to either go to a Romanian high school or to continue their national heritage and continue learning their own language.
All right. So at some point, you came to the United States. What year did you come to the United States?
That was in 1997 in May. It was a beautiful sunny day. I came to visit my sister, who's lived here for 7 years already.
And where was your sister living at the time?
At the time, my sister was living in Everett.
Oh, up in Washington.
Up in Washington. And the first restaurant I ever ate in United States was in Edmonds.
Was it good food?
Yes.
And
it was Anthony's in Edmonds.
Oh, that's not bad. That's a good first restaurant. And I assume you ended up staying.
I ended up staying. I ended up meeting my ex-husband here, and then I decided to stay, and the kids came.
So Romania has had some challenges economically. There for a long time, there was a dictator that ran Romania. A lot of shortages. I've not been to Romania, but I've been to Bulgaria and heard some of the stories, seen some of the challenges. What did you think? What did you like when you first got to the United States?
When I first got here, I loved the access to information. I couldn't believe so many newspapers, so many phone books. You could just, so many jobs, so many opportunities. I was shocked at the choice you have as a person to become pretty much whatever you want.
Well, and I try to, try to not be careful with some certain things I say in my podcast. But one thing that's very near and dear to my heart, the country that I grew up in was made stronger by immigrants. I grew up in the United States of America, and I want to thank you so much for coming to the United States, to my country, and bringing your gifts and making it better. And I'm so grateful.
I am happy to be here, and I'm not going anywhere else.
Okay, so March 12th, 2014, you opened Sand Dollar, which is on the Oregon coast. But before that, we have to go back in time. Tell me about your first visit to the Oregon coast. What was that all about? Where did you go? What did you fall in love with?
I lived in Washington, in Kirkland, Washington, a great place to live. We came to visit Oregon, Seaside, Oregon, for the first time in 2003, and I fell in love with the ocean, the sand dollars, the nature, the sunshine, and we transformed a Memorial Day weekend into a house hunting weekend, and we found a little cottage in Seaside, which we bought for our vacations for years to come.
So you mentioned sand dollars. I have a friend, and she would love to go out on the beach, particularly when the tide's out early morning, and find sand dollars.
In Seaside, best time to go is 5:36 when tourists didn't go on the beach yet, and collect all the whole sand dollars, buckets full.
Now, there's a lot of people that live in the Portland area that own vacation homes on the Oregon coast. But you're coming from Kirkland, Washington. How long a drive is that?
It was a 4.5-hour drive. It's a pleasant drive, especially when you pass Olympia, because you drive on 101 from one little town to another, and it's a gorgeous drive.
So you fell in love.
I sure did.
And then you had a beach home here for many years.
Yes, then from 2003 to 2011, we worked on our beach home, remodeled, all of that. We came pretty much every other week to Seaside to work on our house and enjoy.
And then eventually you moved down to the Oregon coast.
In 2011, we moved to be permanent residents in Seaside. And I started working for Vacasa. That was beginning years of Vacasa as a vacation rental management company.
So now this building that we're sitting in, long time people that lived on the Oregon coast probably will remember for many years it was Sharky's. And then it was empty. And then it was what, Blue Waters?
No, it was Sharky's, then Blue Waters.
And then empty again.
Purchased from Sharky's. And Sharky's, when Sharky's closed, Blue Waters opened.
Yep. And then Blue Waters closed.
And then the Blue Waters closed, and the building was vacant for 6 years with a sign that said restaurant on it. And we were driving by oftentimes and thinking that would be a great location for a restaurant, but never really had the idea to investigate what's with that building. Why is it closed all the time?
So then we get to November of 2013, and you have a friend and a client, and I'm friends with a lot of my clients, and who said, "Hey, I bought a restaurant."
That's correct.
And they bought this building.
And yes, and he invited me to come and see the place. And of course, I was interested in real estate. So anything real estate relating.
So there's actually two reasons, in my opinion, now that I have more of the story. But you did real estate up in Washington.
Yes.
And so you love property, you love real estate. So that's one of
I was a real estate agent for 3 years in Washington. It was fun.
So that's one of the reasons you wanted to see this building.
Mainly for the real estate and because
I don't know.
It was an attractive location.
Yeah, I'm going to tease you about that. But but then he said something, this client said something really crazy. He said, "Why don't you put a restaurant in here?"
He said, "I want you to open a restaurant in this building because Romanians are good cooks."
Yes, they are. Okay, so I want to put you in a time machine. Now, this part of your story, this friend and client did not know. And we're going to go back to when you were in high school. Talk to me about grilled chowder. What's grilled chowder?
Grilled chowder was a family restaurant in Senta, former Yugoslavia at that time, Serbia now. And my father had a friend there who was the owner of the grilled chowder. And I was always kind of dreaming, I would like to have a restaurant like grilled chowder. Family restaurant, we all work together, we all put on the table great food, and everybody has good fun.
So long-held dreams are near and dear to my heart. For 34 years, I wanted to be an author. 30 some years, I wanted to be an author. And I finally became an author, and I was so happy. But for many years, I didn't know how could I ever become an author?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a good writer. I don't like grammar. I don't like spelling. I hate punctuation. How can I become an author? And so you had a long-held dream from high school to have your own restaurant.
That's correct.
And I wish we were filming
my
it now.
teenage years.
Because from your teenage years, because now you're tearing up. I wish we were filming. So when you walked into this restaurant to look at it for real estate, which was true, did you start to imagine you having this restaurant?
Not really till I started talking to my ex-husband, and he came up with the idea. Both kids are working in the industry. Why don't we talk to them? If they want to join us in this adventure, we can make it happen.
And that was part of your dream when you were in high school, is you saw that family working together
That's
at Clam
correct.
Chowder. That was part of the vision you had.
And in that moment when he said, if the kids want to join us, we can make that happen, that's when I realized my dream is possible.
Oh, that just is so beautiful to me. I very much believe dreams can come true, and I love stories like these. So you, long story short, you talked to both kids. They both said, "Yep, we're in. We'll help." And then you had to pick a name. And what name did you pick for this restaurant?
Of course, $10.
And
There
why?
was
I know
no
it's probably
other.
apparent, but I want to hear why.
It was probably the worst choice because S is at the end, and whenever you advertise a location, they go from A, B, C, and our $10 always gets the last spot in advertising within Rockaway or whatever. But I loved $10, and I think it's a representative of the area, and it's a good symbol, and that's why I chose it.
I think that's beautiful. And when you first came to Seaside, you fell in love that weekend. One of the things you fell in love with is $10.
That's correct.
And, Seaside has a nice beach, and Rockaway has a pretty amazing beach too.
Gorgeous beach.
And we are right in the beach. We're recording this podcast here in the lounge. The patio is on the other side of the glass, and then I see waves. From sitting where I'm sitting, I can see waves. This is an incredible setting for a restaurant.
Every single seat in our restaurant has a view of the beach. I have not seen one restaurant in my life that has this opportunity.
So March 12, 2014, that's the first day that it opened. What did it feel like when your restaurant opened? People are here, they're buying the food, they're having a good time. What did that feel like?
It felt irreal. It still feels irreal when I see crowds waiting for us to open the restaurant. I always get that interesting feeling,
Like
that
chills and goosebumps.
exactly that it's still not real to me that I have a functioning restaurant. It's been open for 8 years. It's going strong. It's going forward in spite of so many hiccups, and
Past couple of years have been hell for restaurants.
that's correct. It's
Yeah.
been a hard road, but we went through it, and we are stronger for it.
So Maia, the restaurant's been open 8 years. You've been working in the restaurant 8 years. You came along, though, not in March, not in April, but in May of 2014. So as I understand it, in 2013, in 2013, when there's this talk of this restaurant, you're living in Southern California, you're going to school full time, you're working full time. What did you think when your mom said, "Hey, I think I'm going to start a restaurant"?
Well, from my experience in the industry previously, I knew it was going to be absolutely an enormous undertaking. Obviously, we had vacationed in on the Oregon coast together, and I knew what the area looked like, and I was aware of the work that it would go into making a restaurant run. So I think I told her that she's crazy.
But you did say yes.
I did, yes. Eventually, I agreed. So maybe I'm a little crazy too.
Crazy in all the right ways.
Yes.
And so you signed up for the adventure,
Mhm.
and you moved here in May. And when you got here, what did you think? You're now living on the Oregon coast. How did that strike you?
Well, I took a few days to kind of calibrate myself after the trip, and it was such a breath of fresh air. I mean, the area is absolutely gorgeous. I fell in love with the greenery and just the freshness, the ocean, the sound of the waves. Everything is just absolutely magical. And the place literally glows if you look at it in the right light, and you can just see that there's something magical here.
So the that first summer that you first started, you were a server.
Yes.
You were kind of doing the kind of managing front of house,
Mhm.
and then kind of all hands on deck.
Yes.
And then over those 8 years, your position has shifted and changed and grown as the business has grown. So what do you do today?
Well, today I'm kind of got my hands in nearly everything kind of guest and operations related. I am the person who communicates all of our shift changes. I communicate about our specials. I keep our daily boards updated. I manage the bar. I do all the ordering and basically everything that's bar related. I communicate with my mom to make sure that we have what we need. I serve. I cook when I have to. I do manage the kitchen as well. Um, I wouldn't say I am like a chef, but I'm the person that consistently keeps everybody together. If we ever have to have a staff meeting or anything, I'm the one that prepares documents and things like that for everybody to look at. I have all the training materials written out, the recipes, the books, the bar book, everything, just everything that you need for day-to-day functions. I probably know about it.
Emma, do you know how incredibly valuable what she does is?
Absolutely. I couldn't have done it without her.
And you know what's fun is that, as some of my listeners know, I spent 10 years in the nonprofit world, 10 years in the banking world before I have the career that I have now that I love. And I work with couples, and like is a big deal. You know, if couples don't like each other but they love each other, that marriage is toast. It doesn't work. And I can tell when they're working relationships. And you guys, running a restaurant's hard. It's
Mhm.
hard work, particularly in the summer on the Oregon coast. There's long days. But you guys like each other and like working together. Am I right?
Absolutely. I wouldn't trade working with my mom for anything in the world.
We have the advantage of living an hour away from where we work. So we drive together and we talk about the day coming, the coming day,
Yeah.
and everything that we need to do. So we pretty much have 1 hour meeting before we get to the restaurant. Then we have 1 hour meeting after we finish the restaurant and drive home. And pretty much everything we talk about is restaurant related.
Mhm.
I just think it's beautiful. I can just tell. I wish we were filming because it's just obvious you guys like each other. You like what you're doing. You both seem fulfilled and happy with what you're
Mhm.
doing with your lives, and that is a beautiful thing. And just to get to walk out and see the ocean occasionally, I bet that is an incredible blessing. So there's a lot of good reasons, in my opinion, why I have come here many times. There's the food we'll talk about in a second. There's the setting, which I've mentioned. You have the restaurant side, you have the lounge, you have part of the lounge that's more inside that has these really cool lights. I have lots of pictures of these lights.
Mhm.
If people go to culinarytreasurepodcast.com, they can see the article that I have that accompanies this podcast, and I'll have pictures of those lights up so people can see them. Then there's part of the lounge. It's more, you can see easier to see the beach. Then there's this beautiful patio all the way along the front that is incredible. So the setting is pretty amazing. And then there's one more thing that the first time I ever came, I like to have, to me, I have a beer or wine or something, but there's some fun cocktails on your menu. And I really think people, when they get here, should start with a cocktail. Talk to me about the Sand Dollar cocktail, particularly now, Emma, that you kind of you influence the bar program.
Oh, well, the Sand Dollar cocktail is actually a kind of a mix of Sex on the Beach, which is a traditional cocktail, and Sand in Your Shorts. I learned how to bartend basically just by doing it. And we have several bar books that we kind of use. And so during the slow season, I would sit there and just read the recipes. And we came up with this cocktail, and it's been our staple cocktail since the very first year. It's beautiful. It tastes like it doesn't have any liquor in it at all, but it will sneak up on you. It's great, perfect for a summer day. It's served in a 16-ounce hurricane glass with a nice cherry and orange garnish, so it looks very refreshing and beachy, and I think it fits the theme of our restaurant very well.
Yeah, and it is, as the kids say, 'cause I'm old now. At least that's what my kids tell me. It's good for the gram, because it is beautiful. I've put
Yes.
mine out on the rail out there and taken pictures
Oh,
against
yes.
it. And I've had the sand dollar cocktail on a warm summer day.
Hmm.
I've had it on a cold winter day. Both of them here, and it's perfect either time.
Oh, thank you.
And one thing I want to let people to know is the menu here changes. You guys change the menu occasionally. There's certain things we'll mention that are more likely than not to be on the menu, but the menu changes every so often depending on what's fresh and what's seasonal and what's available. So the cocktail menu will change occasionally, but probably the sand dollar will always be on there.
Yes.
It's been a favorite from the beginning.
Yes.
And then one I have not had, but I'm going to have today as soon as we're done with this podcast, the sand dollar martini. Now this caught my eye. Talk to me about this one.
So the Sand Dollar Martini features the Rogue Spruce Gin. We try to source even liquors and beers and wines that are originated locally. And this is my mom's recipe, actually. And it has blue curacao, lemon juice, Rogue Spruce Gin. The cocktail looks absolutely beautiful in a glass. I mean, it's like, I don't want to say ocean water because that's kind of like a weird imagery, but it just looks amazing on our green patio tables. Blue cocktail. You have an oyster shooter with a red cocktail sauce. We try to bring in a variety of color just to keep things interesting. One of the things that I've learned from my previous work experience is people, eat with their eyes first. So everything that we do, we try to make visually appealing as well.
So Emma, I love gin. You like gin? Is that what I hear?
I love gin. The gin is very good for arthritis.
I've not heard that before, but my wife's a nurse practitioner. I'm going to tell her that I've learned a new treatment that gin is good for arthritis.
Yes, gin is great for arthritis.
Okay, and
I just wanted, and Rogue gin is excellent. Rogue gin is excellent as a gin.
And I don't know I'm tired, so I don't have the right words, but I love different gins with different, different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
And the spruce gin, their spruce gin is very different flavor. And you put this cocktail together here. Did I hear Maya right? You put it together?
Yes, that's correct. I just mixed what I like, and it turned out to be a successful martini.
Well, you can bet your bippy I'm going to order one of those. I'm going to get an oyster shooter, and I'm going to take a picture on the table. It's going to be good for my gram. It's going to be fun.
Definitely.
Good for the gram.
And is there another, isn't there one more cocktail that most likely will be around? Oh, your mules.
Yes, we're going to keep the Moscow Mule or the Sand Dollar Mules. We offer them with all kinds of different liquors. So we can do it with vodka, tequila, gin, whiskey, even Fireball. It works great in a mule. If you've never had it, try it. It's awesome for kind of the cooler days. It warms you right up. So that's something that we like to offer. Guests are often surprised at the variety that you can do a mule with basically any liquor. So
and you do have a great selection of pints on draft and beer and cider and cans and wine and wine cocktails. I've just picking on the cocktails particularly because they're fun and I like them.
Yeah.
But then you also do a rotating list of hot cocktails.
Yes. In the wintertime, we try to feature like warm drinks. We use an espresso machine to make bar cocktails with. And I'll always have some kind of a special. This past winter, we did like a tipsy pumpkin latte, which was really awesome. It had vodka and Baileys, and it was kind of like a twist on, a pumpkin latte, which is super popular. Mix that with a little liquor, and it's great.
Now, I know I've had a hot cocktail here. I think maybe it was a Spanish coffee,
or Spanish coffee or a snowball. We've done, we do our Spanish coffees a little bit different. We don't use the strong 151. but we make a great Spanish coffee anyways.
Yeah, I think it was smashed coffee, but I know I have pictures with whipped
Yeah.
cream and in a cool, the hot cocktail glass.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk about some of the food. Of course, you've got your garlic feta fries. When those are on the menu, people have to get them. Those
You
are
have to.
stunning. They're amazing. They're fantastic. I love good feta, so I love those. And of course, the oyster shooters. And those are things that are most likely probably always on the menu.
Mhm.
So that's the appetizers people should get. And I'm not going to talk through the whole menu because again, it changes. But you've got salads. You always have fresh salads.
Yes.
You have burgers and sandwiches for people that want a burger or want a sandwich. But the fish and chips, you guys do fish and chips pretty darn well here.
Hmm. That's a recipe that we've had since we started the restaurant, isn't it, Mom?
I have actually changed it midway to make the batter a little lighter. So instead of using beer batter, we use soda.
I see that on the menu, a citrus soda batter.
That's
Mhm.
correct. So we use soda water and citrus grind, and that gives to fish a little lighter batter and a nice citrusy taste.
Yeah, I've had the cod fish and chips here. I've had the salmon fish and chips here. They're very good. I like those.
Mhm.
And in the winter, almost every day that you're open in the winter, you can count on there's usually clam chowder.
Mhm.
We always have clam chowder, yes.
And then there is something when I saw this on the menu, I was so excited about, jumped out of my skin because I like different things. I like to try things differently. And now this isn't always on the menu, but it's often on the menu. And that is chicken poppycoch.
It's paprikash, yes.
Poppycoch.
Paprikash is what I grew up on. It's not necessarily chicken. You can use it with any meat. It's just meat, potatoes, onions, and paprika.
It's an incredible stew. And the first time I had it was a cold winter day. It was absolutely fantastic. I had garlic bread. It was so amazing.
It's comfort food, and it's great for family. It's great as an appetizer. It's great as a meal itself.
So, Maia, did you grow up enjoying paprikash? Your mom make that for you as a
Oh
kid?
yeah, definitely.
Really?
Yes.
You lucky. Oh, wow.
Yeah, paprikash was pretty much part of our weekly menu, especially in the winter time when other fresher produce wasn't available. We were doing a lot of kind of meat and potatoes. And of course, paprika is like a dry spice that you grind and make in the summertime and keep for whenever you want to use.
Yeah, I just think it's so much fun. I'm here on the Oregon coast. I'm at this cool restaurant in the beautiful setting. And you have corrected I didn't realize I was saying it wrong. Paprikash.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know where Poppycoch. I guess that's something from my childhood. I thought it was pronounced that way, but Poppycoch. And I had it because I like to try something different. And I think I actually had that and fish and chips. It's my duty to eat. It's not gluttony. I do it, for my readers. But it's so good. And it's not one of your best-selling dishes, but I want to make it I want to highlight it. I want people that they should, even if they're not sure, everybody gets a dish, whatever they want, and then they get that as well so they can all try it and fall in love with it like I did.
Yes. It's, I think the flavor of paprikash is actually very versatile. It complements a lot of different foods and it's not spicy. A lot of people will not order it because they see that it's paprika and it's a chili and people will think that it's spicy. We use sweet Hungarian paprika, which is really, really awesome. It's very savory and sweet in flavor, just as described. We also blend it with a bit of smoky paprika, so it's got kind of like a stronger flavor, and we're looking for it to be bright red when we prepare it and stuff like that. It's got to have that color. Can't be can't be pale.
Now, is my memory served correct? Does it come with some sour cream?
Yes, it is served with sour cream. If you're dairy intolerant, we're happy to put that on the side. But traditionally, we would kind of cut that stew with sour cream or a little bit of even like actually creme fraiche would be more traditional. But here it's a little harder to come by. So sour cream's what we use.
I love sour cream. I lived in Minnesota for 3 years, and dear friend Luba, she was Ukrainian, and she would make me borscht, And she knew I liked garlic, so she made like it was all garlic, and I loved it. And then a big dollop of sour cream. I was so happy. Um, and although this has different flavors, it kind of had that same comfort and warmth and love in it. That Luba's dish did for me. But it is phenomenal. I just want people to come here and try it. Just take my word for it and try it. It is really, really good.
A lot of people come and try it, and they come and eat it every time when they
Come
visit.
back.
And then something kind of different happens for the dinner menu. And then in the summertime, dinner is roughly 4 o'clock. In the winter, maybe you can get dinner earlier. Again, you just have to depend on what time of year it's happening, and you check out the menu. But the dinner is you come here, at lunchtime, and you have a burger, and you have some fish and chips, and you have your maybe your sand dollar cocktail. But dinner, it's kind of almost like a fine dining menu. It is a whole different experience. Talk to me about that.
We like to feature a lot of seafood on our dinner menu. There's nothing better than seafood at an oceanfront restaurant. We have good cooks who can execute who can execute the recipes that I choose. I've became confident in pretty much building the menu myself.
So I think people would you walk in, and from the outside it kind of looks like almost a beach shack, and then you come in and it's nicer inside. And but I think some people would almost be surprised at this fine dining menu. But I want to let people know the steak matches the sizzle. Not that it's a steakhouse. That's a saying. That's a saying. But like
correct.
the cioppino is amazing.
Yes.
And it's like how did this dish end up here? The seared tuna changes what's available. Different kinds of seared tuna, different ways you prepare it. But the seared tuna is always amazing. So I think people need to be prepared. Like if you're on the Oregon coast, and you want a really nice fine dining meal with an emphasis on seafood, come here in the evening.
Yes.
Definitely. We have a bounty of seafood, and I love cioppino, so I always insisted on getting the cioppino on the menu, and I finally have it the way I like it.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I'm not going to go through the current menu now because, again, it changes. But if you want a fine dining seafood dinner on the Oregon coast, come here. And then if you have a spouse, if your husband or your wife, if they're not sure about seafood, they can get a fantastic hamburger. They can get a great salad. They could get the Poppycoch, and you can enjoy your seafood. And so I just love that you do that. It's just, not a lot of places kind of do both, and you do both, and you do it very well. That's a trick. That's not easy to do.
It is it's a limited menu, and we stick to just a few things that we know we can do it correctly. So whatever we have on our menu, we've tested and tried ourselves. Chances are that I've actually cooked the dish myself as well, and I know the execution. So it's, we put a lot of thought into everything that goes on the menu that eventually our guests end up to enjoy.
And then, you've got dessert. Now, the
Yes.
dessert changes on a regular basis, but there's a board out front. People can read what the dessert is. I've had cheesecake. I've had an option. I think once I had maybe butterscotch or caramel on my cheesecake. Another time I had a berry on my cheesecake. You've done pies in the past, and you
Yes.
pies occasionally. Lemon cakes or different cakes, chocolate tuxedo cake. So someone can come, they can have dessert. And if someone decides they're too full for dessert, I think they have options, right? They could take it home, or they could share it with the table.
Yeah. We try to keep at least 3 or 4 dessert options on the menu at all given times. We also do like after dinner drinks, lattes, mochas. We have an espresso machine, so it's a great option for anybody that wants something sweet that's not necessarily a cake.
Yeah, and if I love just plain old cup of coffee, but sometimes if it's an option, I love to have like a doppio, like a double shot of espresso, with my my dessert. And to me, that is just perfect. And that's an option here as well, which
Yes,
a
it
lot of
is.
places it's not. Like you say doppio, and they look like you're a dopey for even. What is that?
They don't know. It's very popular in Europe to have a little espresso with your dessert at the end of the meal, and we do our main business hours are daytime hours, which is usually the time where people would come in. And we have lots of guests who come in just to have dessert and coffee and hang out on the patio, have a cocktail or two. We've had people who come and have lunch and end up staying through the afternoon, and they have dinner here too because they just don't want to leave. And we're okay with that.
Well, it has been a delight to have you on the podcast. I love your story. I love what you guys do. It is enchanting and charming. When you walk up, you're like, "What's this place?" And then you come in, and it just kind of keeps going. It's like, "Oh, there's a restaurant. Oh, there's a lounge. Oh, there's a patio. Oh, there's the ocean." And you kind of go, "Wow!" It just kind of unfolds in like a beautiful flower. So it has been a joy to have you on the podcast. I will be back many times. I've been here many times before. I'll keep coming back because I really do love the food. And now that I know the story, I'm going to even feel better about being here.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure sharing our story. We love sharing our story and our experiences. We love being here on Oregon Coast.
Excellent. And again, I want to thank you to Visit Rockaway Beach for sponsoring this episode of the Culinary Treasure Podcast. The Culinary Treasure Podcast is part of the Culinary Treasure Network. And if you want to see all of our Oregon Coast content, be it podcasts, food articles, travel articles, or our videos, I invite you to go to adventuresontheoregoncoast.com, and you'll see links to all of our Culinary Treasure Network content related to the Oregon Coast. That's Adventures in the Oregon Coast. I'm Stephen Shomler. It's been a delight. Cheers, everyone.